I went and deployed to Iraq, believing the lie that was told to so many of us.
I would see one new child once every couple of months. Now, they're every single clinic day.
South Korea announced its plans to pull out of a deal to share its intelligence on North Korea with Japan in retaliation for Tokyo downgrading Seoul's trade status and imposing export restrictions. The end to the 3-year-old Intel Pact isn't good news for the US, which pushed for the agreement in order to keep an eye on North Korea's missile activity. Senator Bernie Sanders became the latest presidential candidate to release a climate plan, outpacing his competitors' proposals in one glaring way: cost. Sanders' Green New Deal pledges to use 100% renewable energy by 2030 and eliminate fossil fuels by 2050. Sanders says it'll pay for itself in 15 years, in part thanks to income taxes from the 20 million jobs the plan promises to create. Hong Kong authorities have brought riot charges against 2 people a month after they were involved in a mob attack on anti-government protesters and bystanders that injured at least 45 people. The charges come a day after thousands of protesters held a sit-in at the train station where the attack took place, calling out the fact that, as of yesterday, no one had been prosecuted for the violence. On his first European tour as Britain's Prime Minister, Boris Johnson met with French President Emmanuel Macron. With just over 2 months to go before Brexit, the 2 leaders showed they're still not on the same page. Macron echoed the EU's unwillingness to negotiate.
Les éléments clés de celui-ci, comme le backstop irlandais, ne sont pas simplement des contraintes techniques ou des arguties juridiques, mais bien des garanties indispensables à la préservation de la stabilité en Irlande.
While Johnson remains absurdly optimistic.
With energy and with creativity and application, we can find a way forward for all our citizens.
Morning, guys. That's me. I'm Tulsi, running for president.
Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you guys.
Fourth-term Congresswoman Tulsi Gabbard, a Democrat, is attracting an interesting cross-section of voters as she campaigns in Iowa, trying to figure out how to place in the caucus there.
Hi, how are you?
I love your military background. I have military all over my family. Let's bring these girls home. Let's stop these wars.
That's right.
Thank you.
Thank you.
He's a Republican, and he loves that she served in the military so much that he promised to cast his vote for her. Being a decorated service member isn't just a part of Gabbard's past, it's also a major part of who she is now. She's served in the Army National Guard for 16 years, and this week, Gabbard's in Indonesia finishing her Guard training.
I'm grateful for that privilege of being able to serve in this way. Some people are saying, well, gosh, your campaign's gonna take a hit, and if that's the case, so be it.
So you're not worried about that right now?
I'm not worried about it. I'm focused on continuing my service and doing so in this way during this deployment.
This isn't the first time she's left her elected job to serve.
It's so nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you.
I love how you support our troops.
In 2004, she resigned from the Hawaii state legislature to volunteer as a medic in Iraq. Foreign policy isn't the top issue of the Democratic Party, but it is for Gabbard. It's literally what she's running on.
I went and deployed to Iraq and enlisted in the military, believing the lie that was told to so many of us, to the whole country, about why it was necessary for our country to start this war in the first place. The lie that we were told by politicians, by our president, by leaders in his cabinet about how it was in our country's national security interest to go and topple this brutal dictator in Iraq who was working with al-Qaeda, who had weapons of mass destruction, and how that posed a threat to the American people. We as service members were betrayed.
Please introduce Tulsi Gabbard.
On most other issues, she sounds like any other Democrat. She supports tackling climate change by funding renewable energy sources, putting the screws to Wall Street, and pushing a single-payer option.
I support passing Medicare for all because we've got to make sure that every single person in this country who's sick or in need of care is able to get that care, regardless of how much or how little you have in your pocket.
Where she aligns with President Trump is wanting to bail on conflicts on foreign soil, like the one in Afghanistan.
Now, there's an issue that's central to all of these that I think it's important to address, and that is the cost of war. Our foreign policy is inseparable from our domestic policy because as we're talking about the needs of our people, that requires resources, that requires investment. We as taxpayers are spending $4 billion every month in Afghanistan.
She shocked people in 2017 when she played diplomat and flew to Syria, where she met with President Bashar al-Assad, a despot who's brutalized his people.
Whatever you think about President Assad, the fact is that he is the president of Syria. In order for any peace agreement, in order for any possibility of a viable peace agreement to occur, there has to be a conversation with him.
Do you believe that Assad was behind the use of chemical weapons that he used against his own people?
There have been a lot of different chemical weapons attacks, and I think they have been perpetrated by the Assad government, as well as other terrorist groups and other actors on the ground.
Sure,
so the tough questions that I ask come from the understanding that I will do all that I can to not allow a single one more of my brothers and sisters in uniform to be used in a war being waged on false pretenses or to put their lives at risk unnecessarily in another regime change war.
When you say false pretenses, though, U.S. officials determined that Assad did use these chemical weapons against his own people.
Didn't we hear that about Iraq?
Right.
We heard that from U.S. officials. We heard that from our Secretary of State.
My
We heard that
question
from
for
people
you,
in the
though,
UN.
is you sit on the Homeland Security Committee, you sit on the Foreign Affairs Committee in Congress, you take in information
Sure.
from U.S. officials. Do you believe that information when you receive it?
It's not a matter of, well, do you believe? Do I sit there and believe what someone's telling me on face value? No. And it's the responsibility that I feel I have to my fellow Americans, to my brothers and sisters in uniform, to not accept anything at face value and to always dig for the truth.
Gabbard's pro-military, anti-interventionist view has helped her amass more than $6 million in her war chest. But she's a long-shot candidate, one who's already being primaried in her congressional re-election race. Plus, she has a little less than a week to qualify for the next debate.
Is that a moment when you have to decide if you're going to stay in the race or not?
No. Obviously, being on that debate stage is an incredible platform to speak to millions of people across the country, but it's not the only platform or the only way to continue forward. This campaign is not about me. It's about the kind of change that we need to bring about. So we're going to forge ahead and continue on.
Que el ejército de Colombia no permitirá jamás que estos bandidos pretendan llegar al poder por las armas.
3 years ago this week, the Revolutionary Armed Forces of Colombia, or FARC, agreed to lay down arms in a historic peace deal.
The Nobel Peace Prize laureate of 2016 to step
The agreement
forward.
raised hopes around the world that Colombia's decades-long civil war would finally come to an end. It even won the country's then president the Nobel Peace Prize. But Colombia, since the peace deal, has been anything but peaceful. The country was reminded of that in January, when a bombing at a police academy in the capital left 21 dead. That bomb was placed by the Army of National Liberation, or ELN, one of the largest of the armed groups that have stepped in to fill the void left by the FARC.
Atención, fit. Al hombro. Con compás. March.
The ELN has been around since 1964. It's the only Marxist guerrilla army left in the Americas, but it's stronger now than it's been in years. It gained 1,000 new members in the year after the peace deal was signed. In the jungles of the Pacific coast, they hide out in groups of 20 or so combatants. They never stay in one place for long, but they make themselves comfortable with satellite TV and internet. Yesenia joined the ELN when she was 17.
Ay, yo no puedo creer.
20 years later, she's a commander, and she doesn't go anywhere without her dog. A bomb-sniffing Labrador they took from the army and renamed Coronel.
¿Cuál diría usted que es la meta de la guerrilla?
La libertad del pueblo, la igualdad social y la igualdad de género.
Hablemos del proceso de paz con las FARC. Usted, estando dentro de otra guerrilla, estando dentro del ELN, viendo las negociaciones en La Habana, viendo cuando se firma ese acuerdo, cuando se desmovilizan los guerrilleros de las FARC, cuando entregan las armas, viendo todo eso, ¿usted qué piensa? ¿Qué pasa por su cabeza?
Que la FARC en realidad se dejaron engañar, le pintaron un pajarito en el aire y se la creyeron.
Viendo usted lo que pasó con ellos y lo que está pasando con ellos, ¿pensaría usted firmar un acuerdo de paz con el gobierno?
No, ni loca. Yo no lo haría. Con el gobierno no. Me disculpa la risa y la frase, pero yo ni loca lo haría. Pues.
While we were in their camp, an army helicopter flew overhead.
Acaban de ver que el helicóptero de Fuerza Armada dando vuelta.
What they thought was a single flyover turned into several helicopters circling for hours to unload soldiers in the jungle nearby. In less than 30 minutes, Yesenia's unit had packed up camp.
¿Eso qué es?
El helicóptero.
¿Otra vez?
Sí.
¿Cuál es el significado de eso, que estén pasando helicópteros?
Que estamos en guerra.
Behind the breakdown of the peace process is a string of broken promises by the Colombian government. At this camp for former FARC rebels, one of many designed to help them reintegrate into society, the government promised land for farming and machines for a shoe factory. None of that has come through.
Entonces esto es lo que sembró usted con su propio sueldo.
Sí.
Toda esta caña, lo que hay a lo largo de
todo lo que hay aquí.
De este campo acá.
Sí.
¿Y esto cuándo lo sembró? Esta caña acá.
Esta caña tiene por ahí, como ya está vieja, estoy creo que tiene por ahí unos 5 o 6 meses tiene.
The camps are guarded 24/7 by the army and police, who are there to protect the former guerrillas from right-wing paramilitaries and other old enemies. Since they gave up their weapons, 127 demobilized FARC rebels have been murdered.
¿Y usted a veces se arrepiente de haber dejado las armas?
Sí, me arrepiento. ¿Sabe por qué? Porque si yo moría con el arma, sería otro objetivo mejor. Pero si nosotros ahorita vienen por lo menos 1000 paracos y nos matan aquí, y uno desarmado, ¿qué vamos a hacer? Claro, eso es lo que pasa. Yo no pienso ir más para la guerra, pero que nos cumpla. Hasta luego.
The job of pushing the government to keep its promises has fallen to community leaders and activists. Luis Vasquez spends his days convincing demobilized FARC guerrillas to stick with the peace process and find legal work, instead of taking up arms again. But there's only so much people like him can do, and more than 2,000 former rebels have taken up arms again. Here in the heart of Colombia's top cocaine-producing region, old units of the FARC simply reformed as drug mafias.
Chuta, le dijo a Jimmy para reunir el miércoles. Hola, joven. Hola, joven, ¿cómo está? ¿No está ahí el listado? Pero entonces déjeme, yo voy a, entonces, porque tengo que entregarse lo más pronto posible. Ustedes van a ser capacitados. Ojalá hoy, esta tarde o mañana llévenme la hoja de vida. Y usted me entregue la fotocopia de la cédula. Exactamente. Así quedamos, ¿oiga? Bueno, hermano. Bueno. Helicóptero.
So Vasquez does his best to mitigate the violence. In December, he helped broker a ceasefire between the new rival armed factions.
Realmente, usted sabe que siempre en estos acuerdos de paz, no, en los postconflictos, hay veces la guerra es peor. ¿Por qué? Porque hay desajustes. La paz no se hizo sino con una sola guerrilla.
La idea básica del acuerdo de paz es que una vez desmovilizada la guerrilla, las FARC, el Estado iba a entrar a llenar el espacio que dejó la guerrilla atrás. ¿Pero eso realmente ha ocurrido?
No. Eso ha sido falso. Se ha incrementado la fuerza pública, espacios que el gobierno debía de haber incrementado. Ahí está, hacer presencia, pero es con inversión social. Es con justicia social. No es con más ejército, no es con más policía.
That military strategy has failed, and the continued existence of the ELN proves it. After the Army's helicopters drove them out of their camp, Yesenia's unit relocated to a small village upriver.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5. ¡Vénganse!
The village has no running water or other basic services. To keep good relations with civilians, the ELN often gives them cash to help with medical care or other necessities the government doesn't provide. The ELN's top commander in the region goes by Uriel.
¿Qué fue lo que prometió el gobierno que, según ustedes, no se ha cumplido?
Si usted solamente trata de ponerle pañitos de agua tibia a esa expresión bélica, la bomba de tiempo sigue activada, porque hay un conflicto social que subyace. Hay exclusión política, hay inequidad económica, hay necesidades básicas insatisfechas a gran escala, hay falta de vida digna.
¿Hay desmovilizados de las FARC que se han metido al ELN? ¿Eso ha pasado?
Ha pasado. Algunos estuvieron activos en el proceso de desmovilización y al ver que no se llenaban expectativas, se devolvieron. En Colombia las vías legales están agotadas y el que pretenda hacer transformaciones estructurales debe hacerlo al margen de esa legalidad.
There you go. Good job, good job. Okay. Entonces, primero, bienvenidos al país y a la clínica también. Ustedes recién llegaron, ¿verdad?
Sí, hace 2 semanas.
A 2 semanas. Cuéntame cuándo empezó la tos y los síntomas que tenía.
La tos salió después que salimos del aire. El aire acondicionado estaba demasiado fuerte, a ella se dañó.
Ya, y ustedes son de Honduras, ¿verdad? Y entonces salieron solo los dos juntos. Cuénteme un poquito del camino. Usted con un bebé, me imagino que eso no fue fácil.
Fue un poco difícil, pero Dios nos daba la fuerza.
Ya. ¿Cómo? Voy a echar un Kleenex. Right behind the creative coloring one, there's a Phineas and Ferb one. Yeah. That one.
They have an appointment with Dr. Mukherjee today at 1 p.m.
Hola, de nuevo. ¿Cómo estás, Dani?
Every Tuesday and Wednesday, pediatrician Kim Mukherjee
Yo voy a venir de regreso a chequear la vista.
and case manager Miguel Alonso form a 2-person team,
Estoy pensando en darle un screen de trauma.
seeing 10 to 12 kids per day at the New Orleans Children's Health Project.
Dame 5.
All of their patients are immigrants.
It essentially formed right after Katrina and initially provided disaster response relief to the community in an era when the infrastructure had completely been destroyed. The team at the time noticed an increasing trend in Latino families that were actually very new to the area and had not been a part of the day-to-day demographics of the city of New Orleans previous to Katrina.
What are you seeing in the new patient population that's showing up?
5 years ago, when I first started seeing these kids, I would see one new child, meaning new to the country, new to our practice, once every couple of months.
algunas bolitas o no?
Now, they're every single clinic day. They are increasing in frequency to the extent that we cannot keep up. They don't know where to look for housing. Their parents are unable to work. And about 65% of our patient population screens positive for food insecurity. The national average is 17% for children. We are seeing children with chronic and complex medical conditions who are arriving to a state like Louisiana where they have no immediate access to health insurance.
Louisiana isn't typically seen as a state with a growing immigrant community, but the recent influx at the border affects neighborhoods beyond California and Texas. Less than 10% of the patients have health insurance, and most can't pay much out of pocket. So their program relies on a partnership between Tulane University, Children's Health Fund, and Crescent Care. It keeps them open 2 days a week and offering appointments that can go as long as 2 to 3 hours to make time for physical, social, and mental health exams. How long is your waiting list?
So right now, if a mother called us today and wanted an appointment for her child for just a general well visit, the next available appointment would be the first week of November. So we've been running about a 3 to 4 month waiting list, but it also just speaks to the volume of children coming into the community.
Every single new patient they've seen in the past year has fled violence in their home countries and has been detained in U.S. immigration facilities.
¿Tienes frío? Nervios. Respira.
When Bea's family came from Honduras in the spring, Bea started to struggle to breathe.
Pienso yo que lo de ella es problema de asma.
No estoy convencida que es asma todavía, pero más me preocupo que cuando algo muy fuerte nos pasa en la vida, un cambio, un estrés, algo que nos da mucha ansiedad o miedo, puede causar síntomas muy parecidos al asma. ¿Cuántas veces desde llegar ha pasado eso, que le falta el aire?
170 veces.
No,
es que me canso yo, sí. De venir acá, sí. En la mañana, en la tarde, en la noche, cuando me doy vuelta. Cuando subo grada, cuando corro, cuando camino.
Bea's family is renting a home in New Orleans as her parents await their next check-in with immigration authorities. An anxiety screening found Bea does have severe anxiety, so the clinic team referred Bea and her little sister to see a therapist. What did the doctor tell you?
Aunque ella dijo que posiblemente fue que un trauma o ansiedad puede ser lo que yo tengo, pero yo creo que no. Yo pienso que las terapias es para una persona que ha pasado traumas de verdad.
You don't think making a long journey away from your home and being kept by immigration authorities for days, sleeping on a floor, you don't think those things are pretty tough things to deal with at your age?
Yo lo hallo totalmente normal eso. Porque todo mundo pasa por eso y no todo mundo se cansa.
There are a lot of families in New Orleans who've been through what Bea's been through. In the past year, the clinic saw a 158% increase in new cases.
Buenos días de nuevo, mi nombre es Miguel. Nosotros pertenecemos a un proyecto que se llama Proyecto de Salud de Niños en New Orleans.
They hosted a makeshift community clinic as a way to get around the long wait list.
¿Y el bebé cómo se llama?
Patients lean on Miguel, who is himself an immigrant from Cuba.
Yo entiendo cada detalle y cada problema o solución en lo que ellos navegan.
Perfecto.
Entonces, mamá, el doctor está chequeando la vista, ya acaba de chequearla. Después va a venir acá, donde le van a chequear la audición. Creo que eso hace más fácil mi trabajo. Porque yo, cuando llegué a mi primera cita con mi hija acá, y yo no entendía inglés y yo no sabía qué hacer, pero yo no puedo imaginar cómo pasa cada una de estas personas chocando constantemente con un sistema que en ocasiones se vuelve cruel.
Do you think that things are getting better or that they're getting worse?
Muy difícil, más difícil. Las necesidades que vemos hoy y las historias que estamos escuchando hoy no las habíamos escuchado antes. Los papás están muy preocupados no solo por la salud, y quizás nosotros somos la única persona que los estamos escuchando.
¿Y de dónde son ustedes? De Honduras. Okay, los tres niños nacieron allá, ¿verdad? Okay.
Are you worried that you're just reaching a fraction of the people who need your help?
Always. We always have that fear. These are the same children who were at the border, in recent months. These are the same children we're hearing about on the news. They've all explained to me how traumatic that was or the trauma they've been through in their home countries. So their layers of needs are so complex. It's something that we have to address as a community.